The crowd will destroy you, not with violence, not with hatred, with validation, with acceptance, with the promise that if you just conform a little more, explain a little better, apologize a little faster, you will finally belong. And that promise is a lie that will consume your entire life. Picture the scene. You are alone on a Friday night. Your phone is silent, no invitations, no messages, no plans. And inside your chest, there is a feeling. A hollow, creeping sensation that whispers you are being left behind, that something is wrong with you, that everyone else is out there living while you are sitting in the dark, forgotten. That feeling is not loneliness. That feeling is withdrawal. You are an addict, and your drug of choice is other people's attention. And like any addict, you will do anything to get your fix. You will betray your values. You will silence your truth. You will become a performance, a carefully curated version of yourself designed to be palatable, likable, acceptable, and in the process, you will lose the only thing that ever mattered: yourself. Today, we are going to talk about something that terrifies most people more than death itself. Solitude, not loneliness. Solitude. The ability to exist alone, think alone, decide alone, and be completely at peace with the fact that no one is watching, no one is validating, and no one is applauding. This is not a self-help talk. This is not about feeling better. This is about power, real power. The kind of power that makes you immune to manipulation, resistant to groupthink, and dangerous to anyone who tries to control you through social pressure. If you are ready to see why every powerful person in history mastered the art of walking alone, then keep listening. But be warned, once you understand this, you cannot go back to the comfort of the crowd. You will see the cage for what it is, and you will have to choose whether to stay in it or walk out into the unknown. Let's begin. Most people are terrified of being alone because they were never taught how to be with themselves. From the moment you were born, you were surrounded. Parents, siblings, teachers, classmates. Your entire childhood was a lesson in external validation. Be good and you get praise. Be bad and you get punishment. Your sense of self was built like a mirror, reflecting back what others thought of you. You learned that your value was determined by consensus. If people liked you, you were worthy. If they didn't, something was wrong with you. This is the original sin of socialization. You were taught to outsource your identity, and now, as an adult, you are still doing it. You check your phone every 5 minutes, not because you are expecting an important message, but because you need proof that you exist. You need the dopamine hit of a notification, a like, a comment. You need someone out there to acknowledge you, to see you, to validate that you matter. This is slavery, and most people never escape it. Think about how you make decisions. When you are considering a job change, a relationship, a move to a new city, what is your first instinct? You ask for advice. You poll your friends. You seek consensus. You are not trying to figure out what you want. You are trying to figure out what choice will be most acceptable to the group. You are not living your life. You are managing other people's opinions of your life. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince that a ruler must be willing to be hated to be effective. He understood something that most people refuse to accept. Popularity and power are often opposites. The moment you need to be liked, you can be controlled. The moment you need approval, you will compromise. The moment you fear rejection, you will sacrifice your truth. This is why solitude is power. Because when you are comfortable being alone, you are no longer controllable through social pressure. You are no longer afraid of being cast out. You are no longer performing for an audience. You become sovereign. But here's the problem. Society does not want you to be sovereign. It wants you to be compliant. It wants you to need the group. Because a person who needs the group will follow the group. A person who is comfortable alone will walk away. And a person who can walk away has all the leverage. Think about the most powerful negotiation tactic in existence. It is not clever words. It is not manipulation. It is the willingness to walk away. In business, in relationships, in every interaction, the person who is least invested has the most power. The person who can say no and mean it. The person who does not need the deal. But how can you walk away if you are terrified of being alone? You cannot. You will stay in the toxic relationship because the idea of Saturday nights alone is unbearable. You will stay in the soul-crushing job because the idea of not having colleagues to eat lunch with is terrifying. You will stay in the social circle that drains you because the idea of not being invited is worse than the misery of attending. You are negotiating from weakness, and everyone knows it. Now let's talk about what happens in solitude, real solitude, not just being physically alone, but being psychologically alone. No distractions, no phone, no Netflix, no podcasts filling your mind with other people's thoughts. Just you and the voice in your head. For most people, this is hell, because that voice is cruel. It is the voice of your unprocessed shame, your unexamined failures, your unlived dreams. It is the voice that knows every lie you have told yourself. And when there is nothing to distract you from it, it becomes deafening. This is why people are addicted to noise. Music, television, social media, constant conversation, anything to drown out that voice, anything to avoid being alone with the truth of who they are. But here is what the masters understood. That voice is not your enemy. That voice is your teacher. And the only way to master yourself is to sit in that room, in that silence, and listen to everything it has to say. The Stoics called this self-examination. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the known world, spent his evenings writing in his journal, not for publication, not for legacy, for himself. He was having a conversation with his own mind, interrogating his own actions, holding himself accountable. He understood that external power is meaningless without internal mastery. You can rule an empire, but if you cannot rule yourself, you are weak. The practice of solitude is the practice of self-mastery. When you sit alone, with no one to perform for, no one to impress, no one to validate you, you are forced to confront reality. Who are you when no one is watching? What do you actually believe when there is no social pressure to conform? What do you actually want when there is no one to judge you for wanting it? These are terrifying questions, because the answers might not be what you have been telling yourself. You might realize that the career you have been grinding toward is not what you want. It is what your parents wanted. It is what society values. It is what will make you look successful. But it is not what lights you up inside. You might realize that the relationship you are in is not built on love. It is built on fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear of admitting you made a mistake. You might realize that most of your friendships are transactional. They exist because of proximity, convenience, or habit, not because of genuine connection. These realizations are painful, but they are necessary, because you cannot build a real life on a foundation of lies. And most people's lives are built on the lie that they need to be like everyone else to be okay. Solitude destroys that lie. Here's what happens when you practice solitude regularly. Not once in a while when you have no choice, but as a deliberate practice. Every day you spend time alone, no distractions, just you. At first, it is uncomfortable. Your mind races. You feel anxious. You feel the pull to pick up your phone, to do something, to fill the void. But if you stay with it, something shifts. The noise starts to settle. The constant mental chatter begins to quiet. And beneath all that noise, there is something else, a deeper voice, a calmer presence. Some people call it intuition. Some call it the higher self. Some call it God. Whatever you call it, it is the part of you that knows. It knows what is right for you. It knows what you actually want. It knows when something is off. It knows when you are betraying yourself. But you cannot hear this voice when you are surrounded by noise. You cannot hear it when you are constantly consuming other people's opinions. You cannot hear it when you are performing for an audience. You can only hear it in solitude. And once you learn to hear it, everything changes. Because now you have a compass. You are no longer navigating by consensus. You are no longer asking what other people think you should do. You are listening to the only voice that matters. Your own. This is what Nietzsche meant when he wrote about the Übermensch, the person who creates their own values instead of accepting society's values. Most people are sleepwalking through life, following scripts written by others. The crowd tells them what to want, what to value, what to believe, and they obey. But the person who spends time in solitude starts to wake up. They start to question the scripts. They start to realize that most of what they have been told is designed to make them compliant, not free. Let's talk about social proof. It is one of the most powerful psychological forces in existence. When everyone around you believes something, it becomes very difficult not to believe it too. When everyone around you is doing something, it becomes very difficult not to do it too. This is how mass delusions happen. This is how entire societies can believe insane things. Because once the group believes it, individual reasoning shuts down. People stop thinking and start conforming. You see this everywhere. Fashion trends that make no sense. Political beliefs that crumble under basic scrutiny. Social movements that start with good intentions and become mob rule. Everyone is doing it, so it must be right. But the person who is comfortable in solitude is immune to social proof. They do not care what everyone else is doing. They do not need to fit in. They do not need to be part of the latest trend. They can stand alone and say this is stupid, even when everyone else is saying it is brilliant. This makes them dangerous, because they cannot be controlled through peer pressure. They cannot be shamed into compliance. They cannot be manipulated through fear of exclusion. Think about how much of your life is governed by the fear of what other people will think. You do not speak up in meetings because you are afraid of looking stupid. You do not pursue your real dreams because you are afraid of being judged. You do not end the relationship that is killing you because you are afraid of being alone. Fear of social rejection is one of the deepest, most primal fears. In our evolutionary past, being cast out of the tribe meant death, so we evolved to be hypersensitive to social rejection. We evolved to prioritize belonging over truth. But we do not live in tribes anymore. Being socially rejected will not kill you. It will just be uncomfortable. And that discomfort is the price of freedom. The masters understood this. Buddha left his palace and his family to sit alone under a tree. Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness. Muhammad retreated to a cave. Every major spiritual and philosophical breakthrough in history has come from someone who was willing to be alone. Why? Because breakthrough requires you to think differently. And you cannot think differently when you are surrounded by people who think the same. The group enforces conformity. It punishes deviation. It rewards agreement. If you want to see reality clearly, you have to step outside the group. But most people will never do this, because the pain of being alone feels worse than the pain of being inauthentic. They would rather be accepted for who they are not than rejected for who they are. This is the tragedy of the average life. A life spent performing. A life spent seeking approval. A life spent managing other people's perceptions. And at the end of it, they realized they never actually lived. They played a role. They followed a script. They did what they were supposed to do. But they never discovered who they actually were. Solitude is the antidote. Now let's talk about the practical side of this. How do you actually cultivate solitude in a world designed to destroy it? First, you have to accept that it will be uncomfortable. Your brain is wired to seek social connection. When you are alone, your brain will tell you something is wrong. It will create anxiety. It will create restlessness. It will scream at you to pick up the phone, to reach out, to distract yourself. You have to override this programming. Start small. Set aside 20 minutes a day. No phone, no computer, no music, no book. Just sit or walk. But be alone with your thoughts. Do not try to meditate. Do not try to make your mind blank. Just let your thoughts come. Observe them. Listen to what your mind is actually saying when it is not being managed or distracted. This will feel unnatural at first. You will feel bored. You will feel anxious. You will want to quit. Do not quit. After a few days, something will start to shift. The noise will start to settle. You will start to notice patterns in your thinking. You will start to hear the difference between your authentic voice and the voice of conditioning. Then extend the practice. Go for a long walk alone. Spend an evening alone. Spend a day alone. Eventually, spend a weekend alone. No social media. No texting, no calls, just you. Pay attention to what comes up. Pay attention to the fears, the insecurities, the truths you have been avoiding. This is the work. Second, you have to stop filling every silence with noise. Notice how often you reach for your phone the moment you have a free moment. Notice how often you turn on music or a podcast the moment you get in the car. Notice how often you are consuming other people's content instead of creating your own thoughts. This is not rest, this is avoidance. You are avoiding yourself. Start creating spaces of silence. Drive without music sometimes. Eat meals without looking at your phone. Sit in your room and just be. Let your mind wander. Let yourself be bored. Boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the birthplace of creativity. When your mind has nothing to consume, it starts to create. Third, you have to learn to enjoy your own company. Most people tolerate being alone. They endure it until they can be around people again. But the masters actually enjoyed it. They preferred it. Why? Because they had developed an internal world that was more interesting than most people's external world. They had rich inner lives. They had thoughts worth thinking. They had questions worth exploring. This is what reading does. This is what writing does. This is what deep thinking does. It builds an internal world that is endlessly fascinating. When you have this, you are never bored. You are never lonely. You are always engaged with something meaningful, even if it is just a conversation happening inside your own head. Fourth, you have to be willing to lose people. When you start spending more time alone, when you start prioritizing your own company over social obligations, some people will be offended. They will say you have changed. They will say you are distant. They will try to pull you back into the old patterns. You have to let them go. Not everyone is meant to walk with you. Some people are only in your life because you were easy to access, because you said yes to everything, because you were always available. When you become less available, they will disappear, and that is okay, because the people who matter will respect your boundaries. The people who matter will understand that you need space. The people who matter will still be there when you emerge from your solitude. Everyone else was never really there to begin with. This is one of the hardest lessons, because we are taught that relationships require constant maintenance, that if you are not always present, always responding, always engaging, you will lose people. But high-quality relationships do not require constant maintenance. They can handle space. They can handle silence. They can handle you disappearing for a while to work on yourself. Low-quality relationships cannot. And those are the ones you need to let go. Now let's talk about what you gain from solitude beyond clarity and self-knowledge. You gain presence. When you are comfortable being alone, when you have spent time in silence, you develop a quality that most people do not have. You become grounded. You become centered. You become present. Most people are not present. They are in their heads. They are anxious about the future. They are ruminating about the past. They are performing for an imaginary audience. They are anywhere but here. But the person who practices solitude learns to be here. Because in solitude, there is nowhere else to be. There is no one to perform for. There is no past or future to escape to. There is only now. And when you bring this quality into social interactions, it is magnetic. People feel it. They cannot quite name it, but they feel that you are different. You are not trying to impress them. You are not seeking their validation. You are just there, fully present, fully yourself. This is rare. This is attractive. This is powerful. You also gain independence of thought. When you are constantly surrounded by other people's opinions, it is almost impossible to form your own. You are swimming in groupthink. You are absorbing the beliefs of whoever is loudest, whoever is closest, whoever is most confident. But in solitude, you are forced to think for yourself. You are forced to examine ideas on their own merits, not based on who is saying them or how many people believe them. This is how original thought happens. This is how innovation happens. This is how you become someone who sees what others miss. Every entrepreneur who built something from nothing spent time alone thinking. Every artist who created something beautiful spent time alone creating. Every philosopher who changed the way we think spent time alone thinking. You cannot do deep work in a crowd. You cannot create something original when you are constantly consuming. You cannot discover your truth when you are constantly being told what to think. Solitude is where the real work happens. You also gain emotional independence. Most people are emotional hostages to their social environment. If people are happy around them, they are happy. If people are upset, they are upset. If people approve of them, they feel good. If people disapprove, they feel terrible. They are thermostats set by the room temperature. But when you practice solitude, you learn to generate your own emotional state. You learn that happiness does not come from external validation. It comes from internal alignment. It comes from living according to your values. It comes from doing work that matters to you. You stop being a hostage. You become free. Here's what most people do not understand about loneliness versus solitude. Loneliness is the feeling of being disconnected from others. Solitude is the choice to be alone. One is suffering. One is power. You can be lonely in a crowd. You can be surrounded by people and feel completely disconnected because you are not showing up as yourself. You are performing, you are hiding, you are pretending. But you can be in solitude and feel completely connected. Connected to yourself. Connected to your purpose. Connected to something deeper than social validation. The loneliest people are often the ones who are never alone, because they are so afraid of being alone that they surround themselves with anyone who will have them. They fill their lives with noise. They fill their schedules with obligations. They are never silent, but they are empty, because they have never spent time with the one person they will be with for their entire life, themselves. The most connected people are often the ones who are comfortable being alone, because they have done the work. They have sat in the silence. They have faced their shadows. They know themselves, and from that place of self-knowledge, they can connect with others authentically. They do not need others. They choose others, and that makes all the difference. Here is the ultimate paradox. The more comfortable you are being alone, the better your relationships become, because you are no longer desperate. You are no longer needy. You are no longer trying to extract validation from others. You show up whole, and you attract others who are whole. Desperate people attract desperate people. Needy people attract needy people. But sovereign people attract sovereign people. If you want high-quality relationships, you have to become a high-quality person, and that work happens in solitude. So here is your challenge. For the next 30 days, practice solitude every single day. Start with 20 minutes. Just sit or walk, but be alone with yourself. No phone, no distractions, just you. Notice what comes up. Notice the resistance. Notice the fear. Notice the voice that says this is stupid. This is a waste of time. You have better things to do. That voice is lying. There is nothing more important than knowing yourself. There is nothing more valuable than being comfortable in your own company. There is no greater power than being able to walk alone. At the end of 30 days, evaluate. Who are you when no one is watching? What do you actually want? What truths have you been avoiding? Then decide. Are you going to go back to the crowd, to the noise, to the performance? Or are you going to keep walking alone? Because here is the truth they do not want you to know. The crowd is weak. The crowd is afraid. The crowd is controlled. But the person who walks alone is dangerous. They cannot be bought. They cannot be manipulated. They cannot be controlled. They are free. And freedom is the most powerful thing a human being can possess. So walk alone, think alone, be alone, and discover what you are actually capable of when you stop performing for an audience that does not matter. The power is in the solitude. Always has been, always will be. Now go. Disappear for a while, and when you return, return as someone who no longer needs permission to exist. Subscribe if you are ready to walk alone, but only if you are ready, because once you start, you cannot go back to the comfort of the cage.